Well, Elon Musk's next project isn't a car or a spaceship or a solar panel. The executive's latest startup is called Neuralink, which focuses on the goal of implanting chips into human brains and also connecting brains to computers.
This is our little device. That thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place because they're just like little fine wires. So in terms of getting a link, like I said, it's essentially you open a piece of skull, you remove about a coin-sized piece of skull, and then the robot inserts the electrodes. We'll talk more about that later. Then the device replaces the portion of skull that was removed, and we basically close that up with actually super glue, which is how a lot of wounds are closed, and then you can just walk around right afterwards. It's pretty cool. And we actually ultimately want this robot to do essentially the entire surgery. So in everything from incision, removing the skull, inserting the electrodes. And we feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon.
Is the first chip implanted into the human brain that directly links the human brain with a hard drive of a physical computer without a wire, without a cable. We have the biology that allows us to do already, we have this, what those chips are allowing us to do. When we learn to access these mirror neurons in a very specific way, we have super learning. I do this personally. I mean, we can learn very, very quickly. And we are at this pivotal crossroad where we are developing and evolving our technology so quickly. We have to make a choice as a society. How much of our power will we give away to the machines? How much of it sounds like a science fiction movie? Where do those movies come from? This is consciousness in those movies asking us to explore how much of ourselves do we want to give away. And here's a perfect example, Elon Musk. Elon Musk has developed a new company called Neuralink. And his philosophy is, not, and I'm not slighting him for this, because this is the way society learns, this is the way science learns, by pushing the boundaries. And Elon Musk is a brilliant man, he's pushing those boundaries. And I think he'll push them until he has pushback from society. Neuralink is the first chip implanted into the human brain that directly links the human brain with a hard drive of a physical computer without a wire, without a cable. So it's like Bluetooth technology. It's beyond Bluetooth, but you can think of it that way. Right. So what he's saying is, if you can't beat the machines, join them. He said, let's interface, let's become one with these machines.
Right.
So
what do you think about that?
So they have the chips that can be implanted into the brain, and I mean, think about what's happening. These are silicon chips that have contact points that are interfacing with human neurons. The Matrix is the perfect example of this. In the movie The Matrix, the people who were awakening into the new reality, when they needed to learn something quickly, they had a port at the base of their skull, and they would physically plug a cable into a computer, a hard drive, and they could download and learn programs very quickly. We have the ability to do right now through what are called mirror neurons. Interestingly, mirror neurons are a specialized class of neurons in the human brain that don't know the difference between watching an experience and having the experience. So when we already know this, when we showed up, who or whatever is responsible for our existence, whatever's the source of the intervention that appears to have happened, made those neurons possible. And it gives us the ability, if we choose to access this potential, to learn and experience very, very quickly. We don't need to be physically connected to a computer. But this is an example of where, if we don't know that, and we go down this road, I mean, it won't stop there. We end up giving our power away, right, to a device. And you've heard the old axiom, if use it or lose it. And we run, I think, the risk of becoming a species where we begin to lose this tremendous, beautiful potential.
And we are losing parts of that already.
And today, I'm going to talk about some of the technologies that most fascinate me. So, technologies are the future of the brain, our human brain, and where it is headed with technology. But now, we're going to begin to change our brains. And we are doing this with new technology. Now, some of the basic technology out there, EEG, allows you to actually measure your brain waves. And these devices can tell if your concentration levels. They can be used to actually move a cursor on a screen. Right now, scientists in laboratories around the world are developing brain chips. Now, these are chips that can be inserted into the brain, and they are wireless. So, they now have, in a laboratory, monkeys with chips in their brain. And then they have an electric wheelchair. And just by thinking, just with the thought of the monkey, they can drive the wheelchair around. Think about that. If a monkey can do that, what could you do if you had that chip in your brain? So when we start to think about the future, about where technology is headed, this is where we're going. We will have brain chips in humans. And the people who will get those brain chips first are people who suffer from severe medical conditions. So if you have a severe medical condition, like you're paralyzed from the neck down, or you suffer a brain disorder like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, and that brain chip can restore your quality of life, would you hesitate to get the chip? No, of course not. You would say, put the chip in my brain. Weeks. But then they hooked the rat's brain chip to the internet. And they had another rat in another city. And instantly they connected those two rats' brains. And do you know what happened? The other rat knew how to get the food right away. It didn't have to learn anything. The knowledge was transferred from one brain of a living animal to another brain. That is amazing. That opens up a world of possibilities. Because if they can do that in rats today, imagine 10 years from now what they can do in humans. And we will go there. So, mind-to-mind communication. This is something of science fiction that we all read about. But this is actually possible today, as I just showed you. So there will come a point where if we have a chip in our brain, and you out there have a chip in your brain, we can communicate. We can communicate without talking. We can communicate when you're halfway around the world. And we can exchange knowledge. So, if you look at a world where we have these chips that are connected to the internet, all of a sudden, every piece of information on the internet becomes accessible to our minds. But it gets even weirder, stranger. Because we will not only be able to transfer knowledge, but we will be able to transfer memories. Now, so you could have an experience like skydiving, and all of a sudden you could transfer that experience to a friend. And all of a sudden they have experienced what you have experienced. It gets even weirder because we will be living our lives as our lives. We know our lives and our memories. But you will all of a sudden have access to anybody's life who wants to make it available to you. People will open source their lives so others can download pieces of their lives and experience those things. That will be really strange. We won't know the difference between our own memory and a memory we acquired from someone else. Think about that. We will no longer be this isolated human being. We will be connected to everything. So, like the difference between us dreaming and reality will be blurred. We will be spending a lot of time outside our bodies. So, think about this. You, as a human being right now, are trapped in this body. But once you are connected to the internet, you are no longer trapped in your body. You can actually be anywhere at any time that any other person or any other device is getting sensory information. It gets so strange because our senses now, we have our 5 senses of our body. But suddenly, if we are connected to a world of intelligent machines and intelligent sensors all over, we will no longer have 5 senses. We will have access to hundreds of sensory input. Infrared, right? All these UV, all these different types of senses that we never even experienced before. It will radically change how we perceive existence. So if you start to go down this path, you see, we won't even be, our life today will be totally alien to us. We will be living in a whole nother reality that is blending information, sensory information, data information, memories, all of this from all around the world in this vast internet. And that will and can happen. Experiencing other lives. So, all of us experience things in our life. But now we will be able to have many lives. You can have many lives because you can access other people in other places and live through them. And if you want to think about this, it can be almost like heaven. But in this world, we will actually be able to feel the emotions of other people. You can actually not just transfer data and sensory information, but emotions. I would know your pain, you would know our pain, and human beings would never be alone. So, we will come to a point where we, as gods, like gods, will be creating our own reality. We will be redefining what the human experience is for the first time in history. This can happen, and it will happen, but what we want to think about is this. Technology is really powerful. The internet, being connected, is really powerful. But we've already seen, in a very primitive way, just with our cell phones, these primitive devices, how it can totally change our life. Like all of our lives are changed by WeChat. All of our lives are changed by the internet. Well, we are embarking on a path now where we will become the internet. The internet will become us. They will be inseparable. We'll have our storage and everything else all over the place. In the future, though, if somebody hacks into your head because it's connected to the internet, they can steal you. They could actually steal you. They can implant memories in your head that you don't have. They could erase memories. They could control you in ways that you wouldn't even know you're being controlled.
Nikolai Krasnogorsky is attempting to train the subconscious minds of orphans to react at his command, just like his mentor, Ivan Pavlov, did to dogs. Krasnogorsky has proven a human mind can be trained as easily as a dog's to react to a signal with an unthinking reflex.
It's working!
For over a decade, Krasnogorsky experiments on dozens of orphans strapped inside his machine. We do not know the fate of Krasnogorsky's test subjects.
Keep still.
But they changed our world, proving that conditioning the subconscious human mind is no more challenging than training that of an animal. In the end, we are all Pavlov's children. Remember that.
Now, I convince you.
Delgado is fascinated by Swiss research on electrodes implanted in the brains of living cats.
When they stimulated the brain with electricity, the cat's paw moved, like so. It is showing we can change the electrical workings in a living brain. And I think, no, I believe we can fix people.
So it's true, you want to stick wires in a human brain.
I offer a choice. Lobotomy, chop up the brains with a knife, or a few wires in the brain. No permanent damage. You control how strong is the effect. Turn it off, the effect is gone. Which would you choose?
It takes Delgado several years before he is ready to try his ideas on a human.
Keep your hand like this. Nice. Okay. Now don't move a muscle. Oh, please, sir, keep it open.
Wow. I guess your electricity is stronger than my will.
To address this problem of wires needing to come in and out of the skull, he invented the stimoceiver, which is a radio receiver attached to electrodes in the brain, which he operated with a radio transmitter and a remote control, much the same way as one might operate a model aircraft.
Okay, so you were going to play for us.
Turn it off! Turn it off now! Turn it off!
Delgado can induce abnormal behavior in a mental patient by radio control. And he can manufacture emotions even more personal than anger.
God, you're handsome. I don't think I've ever seen anyone so handsome in my life.
The woman wasn't naturally attracted. She had had an electrode that was planted into her amygdala, which is this structure here. And it's an important part of our emotional response system. So by electrically stimulating the region, they were able to induce a sexual response in this woman externally.
Delgado also produces fear, calmness, even euphoria, all at the touch of a button. Though he set out to cure, Delgado's research has produced an unintended side effect. Remote mind control.
Neurophysicist Dr. Jose Delgado was financed by the Office of Naval Research. In this experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal. Recently released CIA documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
When I was a graduate student, my lab mate Tim Marzullo and myself decided that, what if we took this complex equipment that we have for studying the brain and made it simple enough and affordable enough that anyone, an amateur or a high school student could learn and actually participate in the discovery of neuroscience. And so we did just that. A few years ago, we started a company called Backyard Brains, and we make DIY neuroscience equipment. And I brought some here tonight, and I want to do some demonstrations. You guys want to see some? All right. All right, so I need a volunteer. Okay, I need one more volunteer. Okay, what is your name, sir? Miguel. Miguel, all right. You're going to stand right here. So Miguel, when you're moving your arm like this, your brain is sending a signal down to your muscles right here. I want you to move your arm as well. All right, so your brain is going to send a signal down to your muscles. And so it turns out that there is a nerve that's right here that runs up here that innervates these three fingers. And it's close enough to the skin that we might be able to stimulate that. So that we can do is copy your brain signal that's going out to your hand and inject it into your hand so that your hand will move when your brain tells your hand to move. And so in a sense, she will take away your free will, and you will no longer have any control over this hand, okay? You with me? So now I'm going to move away, and I'm going to plug it into our human-to-human interface over here. Okay, so Sam wants you to squeeze your hand again. All right, do it again. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to hook you up over here so that you get the stimulus. It's going to feel a little bit weird at first. This is going to feel like a, you know, when you lose your free will and someone else becomes your agent, it does feel a bit strange. So I want you to relax your hand. All right, and Sam, you're with me? All right, so you're gonna squeeze. I'm not going to turn it on yet, so go ahead and give it a squeeze. All right. So now, are you ready, Miguel?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, so I've turned it on, so go ahead and turn your hand. Do you feel that a little bit? No. Okay, do it again.
No, a little bit.
A little bit? Okay, so relax. No, hit it again. Okay. Oh, perfect, perfect. All right, so relax, do it again. All right, so now... All right, so right now, your brain is controlling your arm, and it's also controlling his arm. So go ahead and just do it one more time. All right, so that's perfect. So now, what would happen if I took over my control of your hand? And so just relax your hand. What happens? Ah, nothing. Why not? Because the brain has to do it. Now you do it again. All right, that's perfect. All right, well, thank you guys for being such a good sport. This is what's happening all across the world, electrophysiology, and we're going to bring on the neuro revolution. Thank you.
Teachers at this primary school in China know exactly when someone isn't paying attention. These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like. Good job! Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These gadgets have alarmed Chinese netizens. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting parental consent to enroll kids into what is one of the world's largest experiments in AI education. A program that's supposed to boost students' grades while also feeding powerful algorithms. Teachers say the students now pay better attention during class, and that has made them study harder and achieve higher scores. But not all students are as enthusiastic. This fifth grader, whom we caught dozing off in class, told us his parents punish him for low attention scores. And that kind of data adds a new kind of pressure for students. Companies we interviewed said the data can go to government-funded research projects. We spoke to parents who were unclear about where the data ended up, and they didn't seem to care too much. Santos says there's likely no privacy protection at all.
In a classroom, if you're trying to make an assessment of an individual student, you really can't anonymize it.
Experts and citizens alike are sounding alarms about various aspects of the country's huge push into artificial intelligence. These classrooms are laboratories for future generations. And while these new tools may potentially help some 200 million students raise their grades, just how this all works out won't be apparent until they become adult citizens.
Congratulations. But is this sci-fi fantasy or practicality? I want to know why anyone would want to do this. For this teenager, microchips, it seems, are in her DNA.
Felicia is my daughter and I'm the father.
So you're a microchip family?
We will become one now today.
Magnus and his daughter Felicia have come here together tonight because they believe this is the future. You're going to have an upgraded dad.
Yeah.
As they say, it was good being a human, but being a cyborg is better. Didn't feel a thing.
It's a quick, simple procedure with potentially huge significance.
So you're officially part machine. How does it feel?
This is awesome. How cool is that? Good job.
Do you think in a few years' time, in a decade perhaps, we'll all have things like this?
Yes, of course. I really do think.
For around £130, anyone can get a tiny microchip like this inserted just beneath the skin in their hands. So when you woke up this morning, was it the first thing that came to your mind? How did you feel?
I felt a little bit strange because now I'm a cyborg and it feels pretty cool.
The chips in their hands use near-field communication, the same technology that allows you to pay with a contactless credit card. They can be read by a device like a smartphone. Hannes has helped develop several microchips. He wants us all to hack our biology. Microchipping is, he says, just the start.
I want us humans to open up and improve our sensory universe, our cognitive functions, and improve all different dimensions of being human. And there is so much we can do.
You want to make us bionic?
Indeed. I want to merge humans with technology, and I think it will be awesome.
Sweden's set to become the world's first cashless society, and the economy here is driven by digital innovation. This national rail company has taken microchipping on board, with 2,500 passengers signing up to use their chip instead of a paper ticket. I've come to the capital, Stockholm, the epicenter of this tech revolution. At this shared office, hundreds of the workers have been microchipped, so no need for a security pass to get in. Per has had his chip for 3 years.
So I take my chip and open the door.
It means he can buy a drink without cash or a card, but for him, it's about much more than practicality. But the people I've spoken to are convinced that this technology will, one day, change the way we live. That in the future, we will all be chipped. And they are leading the way.
Unlike the Predator camera that limits field of view, Argus melds together video from each of its 368 chips to create a 1.8 billion pixel video stream. This makes it possible to zoom in and still see tremendous detail.
And 1 million produces 1 million terabytes every day. That's a lot of data. And I'm telling you this because not that the sensors are modern and not that the photography is modern. Behind that is a brain or a cognitive intelligence. And that brain is in a position to analyze everybody down there. At the same time, in real time, they see where everyone is going. We can understand it when we reduce it to a single person, but we cannot understand it when you're talking about 100,000 people in a city, plus the vehicles, which are all recognized. Due to such systems, they have also redone facial recognition. You probably think facial recognition is from the front. but they've redone to do it from the top because that's where the drones are. And they look at your ears, they look at the way you walk, they look at your head. That's modern facial recognition. So that's one idea. As a human being, we think of one camera and one person. This is a little of their things, that it's taking all the details, all the music up to, and they record it so they can tell where that person was 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, what stores he visited, what his whole behavioral patterns are. That's all part of the analysis of Argus. The kill decision in robots in the air, in robots on the ground, in robots in the water or underwater, where there are also drones, is made by, or can be made by machines. And in my book, I quote many official United States government documents which say, our goal is to have the kill decision made by them. And the problem is, artificial intelligence, sometimes they make mistakes. This is Talon. He's an automatic cannon. I mean, they can, a lot of ammunition in that thing, and you can also put rockets on it. And it's in Iraq since 2007. At a demonstration with US generals and experts, the damn thing got out of control and started pointing at the audience. And there was a Marine there, thank goodness, running across the field who tackled it like a football player and threw it on his side and probably prevented a couple hundred people from being killed. Now, this wasn't reason enough to take a lucrative contract away from the company that built it, and it wasn't enough to take the Talon out of Iraq. It's just sort of off duty for the moment because, you know, there were some early stages of development, you know, that kind of problem. But don't underestimate artificial intelligence because it's getting better every day, and it's going to scare us. And now I'm right at the right time where I say stop. Because I want to take a look now. This has all been here and now technology. Let's go to the future. Not far, just a little bit to the Internet of Things, to artificial intelligence as being spread out. It's not a central machine in a box where you can pull the plug. Artificial intelligence is networked like the Internet of Things. And part of it may be in a smart watch or a refrigerator or in a supercomputer. And the intelligence exists only by networking it together. If the supercomputer needs more computer power, it goes there and gets it out of the internet. If the computer needs better programs, it goes there and gets those programs. And if it needs more information, more data, it goes there and gets more data. It sets up a spontaneous network for its needs, which collapses when it no longer needs it. It does this without us. And you have to imagine, like, there are these intelligence nodes all over the place. And they're like drops of mercury on a glass table. They will find their way to each other. They will find their way together. Now, we have to be very careful because survival is an issue for artificial intelligence. It needs to exist to be able to do the things it wants to do according to its program. So it lays, like insect eggs, backups and computer programs all over the world, thousands and thousands of them, so that if we do destroy part of it, it's still alive. My job to you is the wake-up call to make you aware of the problem. Your job is to figure out how we're going to stop this before it kills us. And thus it is not surprising that the company that has the most information in the world is probably the most powerful country in the world, Google, is very interested in artificial intelligence and has been traveling around the world as a shopping queen, buying all the companies that are dealing with robotics. This is one of their robots. This is called Atlas. And they're buying artificial intelligence, all the artificial intelligence companies from around the world. Now this is, if you ask Google, it's a peaceful robot, right? He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't throw atomic bombs. You know, he just walks around and stands there. But you may have seen the superimposers DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That is the research arm of the Pentagon. And then you see the video was made by Lockheed Martin, which is one of the most powerful and influential and richest weapons companies in the world. So why is the Pentagon investing this money? Why has Lockheed Martin taken over large aspects of the company? This guy's called Big Dog. He also belongs to Google, also DARPA financed. Peaceful dog, right? Unless he gets caught on a maneuver of the United States Marines as part of a military unit. So these are not flower children. These are robots that have a function, and robots that have a function and an intelligence, and perhaps an intelligence that goes beyond us, are dangerous things. But that's what a modern drone looks like. This is not a Predator, this is a Pegasus. It's an X-47B, it's owned by the Navy. It's a jet-powered machine, not like a propeller-driven Predator. It goes 2,000 miles into enemy territory. It carries 2,000 kilos worth of explosives, and it's run by artificial intelligence. It starts alone, flies its mission alone, comes back alone, and here's the clue, it lands all by itself on an aircraft carrier. 2 keys to Pegasus. Pegasus is invisible. Now, I'm not talking about stealth and being invisible to radar. I'm talking about invisible to the human eye. And you won't find this in any newspaper anywhere. It's invisible to the human eye because the bottom has an LED layer on it, and the top has cameras, which have been removed here in the picture, which film the sky, and they project on the bottom a live picture of the clouds up above the aircraft, and you can hardly see it. And they're responsible for a lot of these UFO sightings in Nevada near the testing areas. Jet engine propulsion, a reach of, oops, this is in German, of 2,000 miles, start and landing all by itself. Stealth is optical stealth, you can't see it, and the kill decision, which is required by United States law to be made by human beings. Human beings must be in the loop before someone is killed by a drone, but it's in the machine. And it doesn't need people. It can decide by itself whether or not it kills somebody. And the experts say it's going to make less mistakes and less collateral damage than the human decisions. The kill decision in robots in the air, in robots on the ground, in robots in the water or underwater, where there are also drones, is made by, or can be made by machines. And in my book, I quote many official United States government documents which say, our goal is to have the kill decision made by them. The problem is, artificial intelligence, sometimes they make mistakes.
had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family. And he, when I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things. And I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. And the goals of the banking industry, not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. They're all central banks. And they're all part of the Communist Manifesto. You know, central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. We talk about America being a capitalistic country, but yet at the same time we have a central bank that plans everything for us, right? And the graduated income tax is another plank of the Communist Manifesto, right? So right there you have two major planks of the Communist Manifesto that have been brought in because of the Federal Reserve System, okay? So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything,
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these discussions?
I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you. I had made a video called Mad as Hell, and he'd seen the video and wanted to meet me and knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him and I liked him, and he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told me what the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, you know, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we'd go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later, 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places. And there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, you know, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question. He says, there's going to be war on terror. And he's just laughing. There's no, who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11, who were able to, can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about, and to create this war, this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, you know, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next lie.
Now, specifically, this was a little over 6 years ago?
This was
11 months before 9/11.
Yeah.
And Nick Rockefeller, who's a lawyer, he's become your friend over the previous years, and he's saying to you that there's going to be this big event, and then out of that we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right, an endless war on terror without any real enemy. That you can never, so you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy? It just goes on and on.
Yeah, because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scared the hell out of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, you know. But the war on terror, that's a joke, you know. And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror. Well, one of the things they told me was that he was at the house one night, and we were talking, and he started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?" And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why am I an idiot?" He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He says, there were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble adventure.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded Ms. Magazine?
No, I had no idea about that. No, I never heard that.
Yeah, we're going to...
CIA funded Ms. Magazine?
Funded Ms. Magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Well, Gloria Steinem was proud of it. Oh, the CIA wanted to help me help women.
No kidding.
And so they funded it, yeah. And of course, it's divide and conquer.
Right,
and what they do is they focus in, obviously, on real problems. Women were getting shafted in many ways, but the elite wasn't planning to help them. They were planning to really shaft them and take men away from them. Look at what they did with black families. You only had about 10% illegitimacy 50 years ago in black communities, and now it's over 90%. And look at welfare. You were going to give you some money, but you can't have a man in the house.
Right.
And so that was further to degrade the family, totally destroyed. And now illegitimacy is over 50% in the general population.
Right. Well, see, the whole thing is these people control the money, so they make all the rules. You understand? And they put whatever rules they want into effect. And the truth is, America has really become a socialist, communistic country. And everybody says it's a capitalistic country. It's not a capitalistic country. You know, how can it be capitalistic when you have a central bank?
March 2009. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, 50 miles east of San Francisco, California. This is one of the premier weapons research facilities in the U.S. Over the past 50 years, scientists here have developed some of the most lethal weapons known to man. From the Atlas Titan intercontinental ballistic missile to the Tomahawk cruise missile. But today, inside a special division of the lab known as the National Ignition Facility, scientists are developing one of the most challenging experimental systems ever created. The world's most powerful laser. Scientists have been working on this top-secret project since 1974. The goal: create a laser that produces energy levels that rival the power of a nuclear bomb. When fired, this laser is capable of unleashing the power of the sun. Enough energy to light up every home in the U.S. or wipe out mankind. How did they create a laser with such devastating force? By assembling an array of 192 lasers and aiming them at a single hydrogen pellet the size of a BB.
What we can do is focus this very high energy into a very small spot for a very short time. And when that happens, we get the conditions that are very much like inside our sun.
These 192 lasers are linked together by a twisting jungle of tubes that snake through this mammoth 10-story structure, which is the length of 3 football fields.
These gray tubes right over my head here are the beam tubes which contain the laser beams. You can see there are pairs of these beam tubes. In each one of these tubes, there are laser beams stacked 4 high. So in each pair of beam tubes, there are 8 laser beams.
The plan is to fire all 192 laser beams at once. Each beam starts out low-powered, about the size of what's inside your DVD player. But as they pass through the complex maze of tubes, they merge into one super beam. This super beam fires 500 terawatts of power in 2 billionths of a second, roughly 500 times the entire peak power output of the United States. When that light strikes the hydrogen pellet, it cooks it to over 800 million degrees, creating nuclear fusion and unleashing more energy than our sun. Harness this energy, and our dependency on fossil fuels could end forever. When these lasers go online in 2010, are we looking at the dawn of a new age in energy? Or are we looking at something else? A preview of the incomprehensible power that man could wield to fight the wars of the future. An effective laser weapon for use on the battlefield needs only a fraction of this power to destroy fighter jets, shoot down nuclear missiles, wipe out entire armies. Tomorrow's battles could look like a scene out of Star Wars. Powerful lasers on Earth beamed off of satellites in space to wipe out an enemy thousands of miles away.
That kind of super laser technology would be sort of a finger of God technology. You could basically reach down and crush anything on the Earth using this kind of laser technology.
But the military eventually found a purpose. By 1962, the Department of Defense began weaponizing lasers as part of an arsenal that would come to be known as directed energy weapons. Like the electric discharge laser tested by the Army in 1983. The active denial system declassified in 2001, and Zeus, an anti-landmine laser deployed to Afghanistan in 2003.
The military values the idea of directed energy weapons for a lot of different reasons. One is that they can be extremely accurate. They also potentially give you ways of being able to attack your enemy from a great safe distance without having to, say, put any of your own troops at risk.
Silent, fast as the speed of light, and deadly accurate. The perfect weapon system. The Army's White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico, the year 2000. After years of development, the Army is preparing to test a revolutionary weapon, the Tactical High-Energy Laser, also known as THEL. The THEL has undergone firing tests to measure its range and accuracy. But this will be the first attempt ever to shoot a live rocket out of the sky. The Pentagon wants this weapon deployed by 2015. This is a critical test to determine if they're on track to meet that goal. The first of its kind, it has the power to shoot down most anything that flies, from cruise missiles to unmanned aerial vehicles, even planes. It has a range of approximately 6 miles. The Thel is designed so that radar scans the horizon for threats. When it detects one, like an incoming missile, it will lock onto the target and calculate its trajectory. The Thel will then swivel towards the target and fire a high-powered laser beam. The beam is a few inches in diameter, but powerful enough to burn through steel. Within seconds, the intense heat from the laser will destroy the rocket in midair. This test, filmed on June 6, 2000, could determine the fate and the future of large-scale laser weapons. The Thel is about to attempt to do something no laser weapon has ever done. Shoot down a 122mm Katyusha rocket carrying a live 66-pound warhead and traveling at a speed of Mach 1. The moment of truth. A signal is given, and in this actual footage of the test, the Katyusha rocket is launched. Radar locks onto it, the laser takes aim, fires, and in a flash, history is made. And we enter a brave new world. For the first time ever, a high-powered laser shoots down a rocket.
At that point, the general who was overseeing the test said, "We've just turned science fiction into reality."
Again, in slow motion, the Katyusha takes off at a speed of 760 miles per hour. After the radar locks on, you can see the high-powered laser illuminate the warhead. The temperature of the laser beam is over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. On contact, the laser starts to heat up the quarter-inch thick rocket casing. Within a second, the rocket is destroyed. Death and destruction at the speed of light. This is a place where aerodynamics is advanced by light years. Here, secreted away in a hangar, is a revolutionary aircraft. The Air Combat Command's USAF YAL 747. It's not the speed or how high it can fly that makes it so special. It's the cargo. The world's first airborne directed energy weapon, the airborne laser, also known as the ABL. Just mounting the ABL requires one of the most sophisticated and elaborate modifications in history. The entire nose section is removed and retrofitted, and the world's largest titanium plate is installed to hold the enormous turret-mounted laser in place. The ABL system is designed to find, track, and destroy an enemy target in the air and on the ground. It can loiter at 40,000 feet for 5 hours, refuel in midair, and destroy a target 60 miles away in less than a second.
Is it possible to make it in the scale, the size that a human can carry? Yes. I don't need lasers much bigger than this to generate 1,000 watts of power. And 1,000 watts of power is enough to do real harm to a human being.
In movies and television, laser weapons always seem so clean and sterile. They bore holes through things, or they conveniently make things vaporize. But the reality of a laser weapon that was used against people would probably be much, much uglier. Imagine some sort of beam burning through your body. Lasers could be horrific and scarring and horrifying weapons.
Quote, lasers promise to be a transformational game changer in military operations. And on March 18, 2009, that battlefield strategy took another huge leap forward when Pentagon researchers at Northrop Grumman, one of the military's largest contractors, test-fired a 100-kilowatt laser, the most powerful battlefield-strength laser ever built.
A 10 kilowatt laser will quite readily cut off human limbs or any kind of tissue. So 10 kilowatts is already frighteningly high power. A 100 kilowatt laser is an amazing amount of high power.
Lasers sound like the stuff of science fiction, right? Sound completely unbelievable. How could our military possibly be using those in future warfare? Guess what? We've just had a recent breakthrough, more great test results that are making lasers a reality. So it's called Athena. Lockheed Martin makes it, and they've been doing a lot of the pioneering in this laser field. Now, what's really exciting about it is that it's so hard to harness that much power and make it compact enough that it's actually going to make practical sense downrange. And they've proven that they can do that. Recently, they tested it against 5 moving drones, so realistic drones that they might go up against with, enemy forces might send against us, for example, or terrorists might send against us. And it successfully shot down all 5 of the drones. This is huge news because it means that in a realistic, practical setting, it's looking very promising. So it could be ready to field quite soon. So when you see the movies or you look at comic books or television shows, when you see laser weapons, they tend to be a color, right? Red or green or something like that. Real lasers, one of the key advantages that they provide is that they are invisible. You actually can't see them. You just see this damage suddenly starting to blow something up. So if we take a look now at what the Athena did to a truck. So we're looking at a truck engine, and the Athena within seconds was able to beam right in there, heat the whole thing up, and burn through the engine of this vehicle. So if you can imagine if you were in that vehicle, all of a sudden, this hole would start appearing in your engine, and the whole thing would just disappear. That's what these lasers do. Now, there's some other key advantages that we should mention. Let me give you 3 of them. 1, unlimited ammo. As long as we have power, we have an unlimited magazine. And downrange, of course, having unlimited ammo can be a huge advantage. Second, it's silent. You don't give the enemy any advance warning that it's coming. And then the third one I wanted to touch on is that it travels at the speed of light. So not only are we delivering powerful, decisive effects, lethality, we're also doing it so rapidly they don't know what hit them. So if you could circle back to that example of being in the car again, that would happen so instantaneously, within seconds, you truly would have no idea what was happening. It would just suddenly start disintegrating, right? So what can we use these against? So we talked about the vehicle a bit. We talked about how Athena has just proven itself against drones. But in the real world application, our forces could use it against the drones. We could use it against aircraft. We could use it against vehicles on the ground, like we mentioned. We could also use it against fast attack boats. And in fact, Athena's sibling, Adam, a couple years ago proved that it could eliminate these fast attack boats. So if you imagine boats start trying to swarm one of our ships, not a problem for this laser. Burns right through the hull. As you can see right there, it's burning right through the hull. I'm incredibly excited about this news, this great news about the successful testing of Athena, because it means that we'll be putting these powerful weapons soon. We could put them in the hands of our warfighters and give them even more powerful weaponry to keep themselves safe and also to deliver the effects that we need. They can be used, laser weapons can be used offensively and of course defensively too, to help protect our homeland. Think of our airports that might be under threat from enemy drones. They could be used to protect we could use them statically and used to protect our airports. They could be used to protect our power grid, our nuclear plants. So there's lots of different exciting applications for this technology. There's no longer science fiction, but science fact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Hey folks, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. Today it's the end of October. I think it's October 27th, a Sunday. And today we're going to get into the Agenda 21 in the aftermath of the California fires. It's happening swiftly. It's happening fast. It's been planned for a long time. This was premeditated. I'm going to show you how it was premeditated, and there's some really nefarious stuff going on here. So this is an article from today's Sunday paper in the Press Democrat. Actually, it's October 29th, sorry. And footprints of the wildfires, and you see what's happening here. The Fountain Grove neighborhood, which I'm going to show you pictures, and we toured yesterday, as well as the Mark West Springs area, Safari West, and the Calistoga Napa wine country. This was called the Tubbs Fire. And you see the footprint here. The red is where this fire occurred here in 2017. And then the other fire is the Hanley fire in blue. And guess, can you figure out what they're going to do, folks? Well, here, first look at these pictures. Let me open this up. Here's some of the pictures of the devastation. And you'll notice that there's areas that were completely, absolutely torched down to the ground. Nothing left. This fire only happened within a couple hours, folks. You see a home perfectly fine here, and everything else is destroyed. And you look at just the decimation that went on in these areas around golf courses, again, around major roads. Check out this. Look at this car, folks. What does it take to melt all the plastic, all the glass, and melt it down? No tires, down to the steel rims. What kind of heat does that take? I mean, the devastation here is absolutely mind-blowing when you drive around all the areas and see that several areas had complete devastation, while other areas had selected devastation. But the trees, we'll get into that in a minute, but the trees were fine in a lot of areas. Now you can see here, look at this home here. This home is perfectly fine, but it destroyed it all the way around here. How did it miss that home? Wonder who lives there, a couple people were asking about. Maybe we could look into this. But look at the total devastation, and there's another house perfectly standing where everything's burned around it, and the fire came right up to it. And then look at this main street here, the devastation. It had to jump all the way across 4 lanes of road, the fire did. But the devastation, you just got to see it to believe it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Look at this house standing. Everything else is destroyed, but one house is left standing, 2 houses. I mean, this is just unbelievable. It's still, to this day, going around and looking at everywhere. Look at this house standing here. Look at the rest of the houses all around them are fine. Somebody should do a check on the Zillow and find out who lives in these houses and see if there's any connection to laser companies or officials or anything like that. But what I want to get into right now is what the Press Democrat has put in their paper. And again, here's the Tubbs fire and the Hanley fire from 1964. And what they're doing is they're making a fire hazard severity zone. They're declaring that the Fountain Grove area is a fire severity zone where they're going to start to question whether or not they should rebuild in the entire area. We're talking over 500 homes here. I kid you not. Hang on a second. So I want to give you a picture here of this heat map. And this shows the fire before and after pictures. And you can see the red here is all vegetation. And if I move it over this way, you can see all the vegetation and the homes destroyed. I believe this is in the, this is in the Fountain. And then you click over this way and you can see where the homes were. But how did the fire possibly cause all this damage? So to show you here, this is a very cool map. I'll put in the show liner notes, but here's the before. And you just pull it across, included these exact areas for retargeting, for green design, Agenda 21 stuff. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. But they're rolling out the Agenda 21 here in the local news and showing you these articles here. Santa Rosa contractor builds tiny homes for Sonoma County fire victims. This was right after the event. You've got these people all happy that they have a little home that they can live in. It should be noted that a few years ago on the same exact day, the New York Planning Department, New York City, and San Francisco City Planning Department at the same time, exactly the same day, approved Stackham and Packham houses of, I believe, 250 or 275 square feet on the same day. And now we're seeing Agenda 21 in action up here. So I want to go over quickly what is Agenda 21, Global Governance 2030, 2045, silent weapons for quiet wars. All of this has been reported and been forecast now for decades. This report from Iron Mountain, this was done, I think, in the 70s, talked about how they were going to reorganize Global Governance 2025, about how they're going to reorganize these 2 documents. I'll put in the show notes: Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, Soft Power, report from Iron Mountain, should be critical reads by everyone. And then with Pacific Partnership, Codex Alimentarius, ban vitamins, nutritional supplements, local grown organic foods, promoting vaccines. This is a very important quote here. There's a traditional ruling class, a superclass that agrees on establishing a world government. I submit they already have a world government. Your debt follows you everywhere except for Korea, North Korea, Iraq, Iran, and Syria, formerly Afghanistan, formerly Iraq, and now they're taking over Libya. So centralized power wants central banking. The goal of the superclass is not to lose their wealth and power to transnational middle class, but to extinguish the notion of a middle class and to transnationalize a lower, uneducated, labor-oriented class through which they will secure ultimate wealth and power. The economic crisis serves these ends. Well, we're over $21 trillion in debt in this country, and it'll be very, very easy for them to crash the economy now and destroy the middle class in its entirety. Right now, they're doing the slow boil. So what is Agenda 21? For teaching our children that we are the parasite and we must preserve this environment to imminent domaining large swaths of property, Agenda 21 is in full force today. Using terms like localism, sustainability, communitarianism, and volunteerism to steer those in rural and suburbs into stack and pack micro apartments for better control, the agenda is nothing more than a massive corporate land grab for what is left of our precious natural resources. Okay, now this is the precious national resources here map, and I'll include this, and it's a very important map to study. This is the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity Wildlands Project, UN and U.S. Man and Biosphere Programs, and World Heritage Program as a vital step in attaining sustainable development. For whom? This red here, core reserves and corridors, little to no human use. Look at this, folks. All up and down the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, and here in Santa Rosa, where I'm at right now. Look at, they're planning on little to no human use, and we just have to have these incredible fires that no one's ever seen before come out, and now they're saying we're not going to rebuild. This is what I'm talking about, folks, and we'll put this map in here. Please study it. But look at the heavy preponderance of activities of no human use in the entire Pacific Northwest and in California, and then down here in New Mexico and Arizona. This is all part of their plans. Sustainable development addresses land use through 2 action plans. The first of which is the Wildlands Project, is a plan to eliminate human presence on over 50% of the American landscape and to heavily control human activity on most of the rest of the American lands, I kid you not. Areas that have become biosphere reserves and heritage sites are systematically being closed, even to recreational use. The most significant tools of Wildland Project are the rapidly expanding impositions of habitat protection in the endangered species and various conservation easements as well. So if we click over here, we can see the Agenda 21. This is their stated plan, folks. It's in their documentation. The biodiversity is seeking to end national sovereignty, state planning and management of all land resources, finances, ecosystems, deserts, forests, mountains, oceans, and fresh waters, biotechnology, and ensuring equity. The state to define the role of businesses and financial resources. Abolition of private property. Restructuring the family unit. Children raised by the state. This is why they're having the preschool increases and getting kids from 0 to 3 into schools. People told what their jobs will be. This is why in the Common Core they're taking all the kids' school documentation so they can organize the kids into the jobs they're going to design for them. Major restrictions on movement. Also the minimum wage to $15 after they haven't raised it in like 15 years. That's another part of it. Everybody's going to be making $15 an hour, so all they can afford is stack them and pack them. Creation of human settlement zones. Mass resettlement as people are forced to vacate land where they currently live, dumbing down education, and the mass global depopulation in pursuit of all above. The Local Governments for Sustainability, or ICLEI, and other organizations are integrating a plan into every village, town, city, and region, and it's already becoming widespread across the world. I can leave the notes in here, but here's a very important lady, Rosa Corey. She wrote Behind the Green Mask, the UN Agenda 21. I highly, highly recommend you read this book. It's very critical. She's here in Santa Rosa. She documented years ago what was going to happen along with Deborah Tavares. And also we've had updates. I've gotten some comments that Deborah Tavares is alive and well, so that's really good news. And the others that haven't gotten into the Georgia Guidestones, the very last thing, number 10 on the commandments of the Georgia Guidestones is don't be a cancer on this earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. All right, so let's get into a little bit of how they're adapting the Agenda 21 right here in Santa Rosa after these firestorms that started October 29th. They're moving very, very quickly. This is the danger opportunity. When written in Chinese, the word crisis is also the other represents opportunity. Here's a little picture, the most selective forest fire in history. You can see it burned down all these houses. Didn't burn that house, didn't burn the tree. These are eucalyptus people. Eucalyptus trees go, you can breathe on them and eucalyptus will catch fire. I mean, this is ridiculous, folks. It was targeted, it was selected, directed energy weapons.
So the recent California fires are very strange and suspect, to say the least. We have specific areas being burned, like energy was being directed at certain things. In drone footage of the aftermath, we see houses completely obliterated and turned to ash while the surrounding landscapes and trees are totally fine. Here is a clip courtesy of Serbian Conspiracy. I'll put a link in the description. You'll notice here that stores and restaurants are wiped out while other things are still in perfect shape. Other buildings are fine, trees are untouched, but specific structures are just devastated. You gotta ask yourself, what's up with that? How did the fires get to these certain buildings but the surrounding areas, including the parking lot, look normal? Is this the result of direct energy weapons? Ranged weapons that inflict damage on a target by emitting highly focused energy? The answer is most likely yes, but most people believe that these kind of weapons are just science fiction, due to movies like Austin Powers, for instance.
This is not a carbon fire. This is the only fire in the whole wide world that's considered a forest fire where the forest did not burn. The forest didn't burn here. All the glass melted, all the structural materials that used to be a house have disappeared. They have disappeared. You have a couple of bent poles here, a couple of poles that are bent, but you have absolutely no materials. The houses have not fallen. The houses have disappeared. The materials of these contents of these houses are gone. Let's listen to what they have to say here. She's going to talk a little bit about it. Well, first, let's go here. I want to show you where these fires are. Because if you're like me, you didn't know that there were 14 separate fires. How did 14 separate fires start over such a wide area? You guys, this isn't normal. This is not how it works. These homes didn't fall. These homes didn't burn. These homes disappeared. There's nothing left. There's not even a toilet bowl or a bathtub. This is one of the cars or trucks or something that was in this fire, and you'll notice that the glass here, which has a melting point of between 2,600 and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? We're talking forge, foundry, furnace temperatures to melt this glass. Glass does not melt on its own, guys. Open air fires do not create this kind of complete combustion of the materials, all right?
How did they create a laser with such devastating force? By assembling an array of 192 lasers and aiming them at a single hydrogen pellet the size of a BB.
The fact is, we are dealing with microwave weapon technology. how else would this tree catch on fire from the inside?
A haunting but mesmerizing scene from the wildfires in Sonoma County. A man came across this tree burning from the inside out. Matthew McDermott was driving around looking for escape routes as multiple fires closed in on the area he was in. The tree appears to be hollowed out by embers and flames.
Right? You could look this up. This is all over the news. Tree on fire from the inside. The only time that happens is when trees are struck by lightning, which in itself is a direct energy, right? This whole thing is all messed up. Hurricane after hurricane, which are also able to be created and controlled by man. And now this? And right on cue, we have the Geostorm movie coming out, which has some truth in it.
We can control our weather. In 2007, ABL successfully demonstrated one of its most challenging tasks: illuminating, tracking, and propagating an atmospherically compensated beam against a distant target. The system demonstrated that it could illuminate the target with a low-power track illuminator laser, TIL. The return of the TIL beam off the target is then used to achieve a high-precision track and the rapid designation of an aim point for the high-power laser. Once precision track of the target is established, the beacon illuminator laser, or BIL, measures the wavefront distortion caused by the intervening atmosphere. Corrections are applied to the high-power beam optics, which in an actual engagement would result in more than lethal energy deposited on the target. Repeated multiple times with a substitute low-power laser at the same wavelength as the larger chemical laser, each engagement required only seconds. Had the high-power laser been on board, a missile threat would have been stopped cold, suffering catastrophic damage. With the high-power laser tested on the ground and the beam control and battle management systems tested in the air, ABL is now on a single high-power integration path, culminating in a missile shoot-down.
Wong. Top story, Santa Barbara. 10,000 acres of wooded residential land were scorched in an instant when a laser cannon aboard the Strategic Defense Peace Platform misfired today during routine startup tests. Casey?
Yes, it was a day of mourning for the families of 113 people known dead at this hour. Among them, 2 former United States presidents who had retired in the Santa Barbara area. A day of mourning for a country.
Oops. Now look at this. The fire supposedly was a wildfire, so it's spreading through the vegetation. Okay. Now, the vegetation here still got its leaves on. And all the thin branches, which should have been the first ones to burn, are still there. And yet, the heat was so intense, it was able to completely destroy these vehicles. Look at them. All the glass is melted out, the metal's buckled and deformed. All the paint's burnt off. So it's an intense heat, and yet the heat was supposed to have reached the cars from the vegetation, the trees, and the trees are intact. Tell me what burns, what needs a hotter temperature to burn, metal and glass or wood? Obviously the wood would have gone first, right? This is exactly the same as Gatlinburg. Look at what it's done to the road. Okay, this is directed energy, microwave beam weapon from above. This is the same way that they brought down the Twin Towers. Same technology.
That's why it takes so long to burn a body. You have to have it in a furnace, or to melt metal. You have to have it in a furnace. It doesn't happen like this. This does not happen in open air. Unless there's something really messed up. And see, what I'm saying is that all the building contents, everything that was here, all the drywall, all the metal, all the steel beams, all the wood, everything is just completely turned to dust. That doesn't happen on an open air fire. Clearly, because if it did, then these trees would have been burned. But there's something that's happened inside these buildings, something specific that messed this all up.
Plan Bay Area 2040 is a roadmap to help Bay Area cities and counties plan for future transportation and housing. How and where should we accommodate more people and more jobs? How should our transportation system support this growth? What policies do we need to achieve goals for a strong economy, healthy environment, and more social equity? Our challenge is to plan for expected growth while preserving the unique character of our communities. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission, or MTC, and the Association of Bay Area Governments, or ABAG, update the region's long-range plan every 4 years to incorporate new visions, strategies, funding, and public comment. The Connected Neighborhoods scenario emphasizes expected growth in people and jobs in areas near major transit corridors, prioritized by cities as being the best places for new development. Expansion of roadways would be limited, with more focus on modernizing and expanding our transit system. Investments in bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure would help create more walkable and bikeable downtowns.
Look, you can see, can't you? Trees a bit damaged here, but around the trees have even got leaves on. Look, and yet the houses have completely been destroyed. Completely. This looks like so. Yeah, the trees have still got leaves on them and little branches and twigs. What I'm saying is that the heat originated here and then slightly singed the surrounding area. It did not reach the houses from the surrounding area, because the surrounding area would have had to be completely incinerated, and then they're untouched, as he says. Highly.
But again, this was coming from above. These were directed energy weapons. They were torching and murdering people in their homes, fried in their homes. The body count, we will not know the true body count ever. They will never give it to us. But there's many, many people that perished in their homes. Just like in the Hurricane Harvey, the floods came in the middle of the night. Both started about 1, 2 a.m. They didn't have a chance. So here, Take a Walk has the moon, and you'll see the flash. There it is. See the flash? There it was. This is another cell phone recorded as well. There's another beam right there from a cell phone recorded. Prima facie evidence, folks. Here it is. Trees.
That is the craziest.
Ever seen trees burn like this?
Seen.
No one has.
It's hollowed out the tree.
From the inside, not on the outside.
Fire and
how do trees burn from the inside and not on the
straight
outside?
Up the middle of a tree.
It had to be directed energy weapons, folks. They torched the place with thousands and thousands of degrees, targeted certain areas, certain people, certain homes, certain businesses. Agenda 21, weather war terrorism.
That is nuts.
This wasn't a forest fire. Because look at the forest did not catch on fire. But the house disappeared. The house is gone. The materials in this house are absolutely 100%, they're just gone. There's nothing left. Now this one really, you guys, this one, if you guys don't see September 11th all over this, then you guys are blind, because look at this is an I-beam. This is a steel I-beam, and it's just completely twisted and bent. These are some sort of weapon, energy weapon. This is something, I don't even know what to say, you guys, but this is not a fire.
Tin melts at 450 degrees, lead 620, steel between 26 and 800, glass 2500.
See, there's my foot. This is the aluminum block. All the aluminum just melted. There, I could pick that up. I could take that down into the recycle center. That came from that. That's a Sprinter van. That was a Sprinter van. That's the same kind of van I got.
160,000 acres have been burnt. That's shocking. Shocking. What's the agenda, guys? And how many people got killed in this? This is murder. If that's the case, it was directed energy, but it's murder, right?
Hey folks, welcome to another video from plaintruth.info. Here's more proof positive. Blue laser lights, which people are reporting. We've got now at least 3 separate cell phone smart cameras identifying blue lasers on video, 1 from a helicopter and 2 from handheld cameras, as you can see right here. This is proof positive. We're going to take this to the fire departments. We're meeting with fire people now. They know something was wrong, and they've seen the videos and all the directed energy comments, and they want to learn more. So we're taking this to them. You can take this video as well. We also have the Santa Rosa Planning Department papers back from 2016. The exact roadmap where the fires hit in the Santa Rosa area matched the planning rezoning for Agenda 21. Stack 'em and pack 'em, green design, walking, no fireplaces kind of communities with density increases over 100%, planned on October 7th, 2 days before the fires.
Margaret Brennan joins us now. She's at the White House. I share the question that was raised in that room, Margaret. What storm is the president referring to?
The White House is refusing to clarify what the president meant, and if you play out that full tape, you had reporters repeatedly say to the president, "Sir, what storm? Which storm? Are you talking about Iran? Are you talking about ISIS? What are you referring to?" It's a very unusual statement, and it's one that raises a lot of concern, not necessarily the people in that room, but here in Washington and around the world.
People laser at a power of 1 watt, and if you don't want to use your energy to strike your match, you can just hold it in the beam of light.
A 1 watt laser can light a match. Imagine then the power of a 500 trillion watt laser. That's exactly what they've built here at the National Ignition Facility in California.
Where are the granite countertops? Where are the glass doors? Where's any of the metal framing? Where's the bricks? Where's any of the stuff that held these houses together? And why isn't there any rubble? But the tree is still standing, and the grasses are still here. But the cars that were left have no glass. They're all smashed to pieces. Look at this, the garbage cans. Come on, guys, all the garbage cans are here. But look at the cars, look at the condition of these vehicles. Look at this is all smashed and bent. And look at the twigs on the ground. These things should have caught on fire. How come there's pine needles and stuff all in the path? Why isn't there anything standing whatsoever but the trees? This is supposed to be a forest fire. How come the forest didn't catch on fire? Not even the tree branches. Look at, there's just twigs and stuff everywhere. Why did the twigs not burn? But every single solitary piece of 2x4 that built these houses is standing. I mean, isn't standing, it's gone. It's all disappeared. There's no aluminum siding, there's no bricks, there's nothing.
You fools! You've erected a massive concave reflective surface. It will focus the sun's beam in a deadly ray. Whoa! Hey!
First off, I'd like to thank the good people at Tianjin Smelting and Mining and Donuts and Tops for neutralizing our wonderful, deadly new lard lad.
Yeah, that's great.
This represents? Well, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr.
We have
President?
the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint on your decision.
Thank you, everybody.